All right, let's get into it. It's the 8 o'clock hour, 8:05 in Birmingham. If you're just getting up and around and you're listening for Richard Dixon and Valerie Vining, they're off this week. It's Kip Kiefer filling in today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Steve West, the rock of the morning show, is on duty, as he always is. And we've got a special guest today, if you're just joining us. He is a broadcast giant in the sports field, but he's making his news talk debut today and making quite a splash. He's on the verge of announcing his candidacy for governor. We've got the one, the only legend from the Paul Feinbaum Show. It's an honor to have you in the studio.
Well, I just got word from Paul Feinbaum. He refused to be my lieutenant governor, so that governor is no longer on the board.
Oh,
if Feinbaum
no.
ain't riding with me, I ain't riding. I'm not riding.
Are you endorsing Tommy Tuberville now officially?
I don't know about that. I'll wait on it. I'm considering it, though, Tommy. I'm considering it.
Tommy,
considering
give Legend a call. You might be able to get the main Alabama man on the ticket. I think he needs to look at you as lieutenant governor.
Well, as president of the Sidewalk Alumni in the state of Alabama, Tommy has a few things that we want to hear from him. Number one, we want an opportunity to vote on gambling as a state. Let the people vote. Don't leave this to the hands of the politicians. Let the people vote, Tommy Tuberville. And also, I would like to see Tommy Tuberville come into this state and declare a 4-day work week where we work 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, and take 3 days off. I'm getting calls already. They want me to run, Kip. They want me to run. I just got a call. Run, Legend, run. You know, wouldn't that be a great idea if everybody had 3 days off?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I can see a lot more football days.
A lot more.
So I like that idea. 205-545-9950 if you've got some ideas on the new year. I want to talk a little bit about 2025 and what we saw, because I don't think there's been many years in American history like it. And it all began, of course, with what happened in the previous year on November 5th, 2024, when one of the, I'm not going to say one of the greatest, it is absolutely the greatest political comeback in American and probably world history, when Donald J. Trump was reelected president, only the second time in the history of our country that a president has served 2 terms that were not back-to-back. The other one was Grover Cleveland late in the 1800s. Grover Cleveland was the governor of New York, and he was elected to the presidency. Some big money guys ran a candidate against him, and he lost in his reelection bid, only to come back and reclaim the presidency and run a second term after a 4-year interruption. Trump did the same thing, and we've never seen a phenomenon like this, Legend. He was indicted. He was tried. They tried to put him in jail. 2 assassination attempts. The guy just was not going to be denied, and had this sweeping victory in November of 2024. But transitioning to the year that we've only got a couple days left, we have never, ever seen a president come into office and hit the ground running like this president did. The day he was sworn in January of this past year, he went to work signing over 80 executive orders on the first day on live television. Sitting in the Oval Office with reporters, just as he signed all these orders that were already predetermined, because they learned so many lessons from 2016 when he was elected the first time. He went to Washington thinking he was going to get this big gathering of government and lifers that were going to support him because he was the president. He was used to being an executive in business. And he found out real quick that he couldn't trust anybody in Washington. He was an outsider, and they wanted him gone, and they continued to try to do that. So this time he was completely ready to go. He had all of his cabinet picks already made, and he started from day one completely undoing what the god-awful 4 years we had before that, with a president who didn't know what his name was or what day it was. He had all these Obama officials. Really, that term was the third term of Barack Obama. From behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, he was pulling the cranks and turning the dials. Joe Biden was a puppet, a figurehead president. His wife, Jill Biden, was more the chief executive than he was, and we'd seen that before in American history. Woodrow Wilson, back in 1919, after World War I, suffered a debilitating stroke and was bedridden for the last year of his presidency, and his wife, Edith, basically ran the country unbeknownst to everybody, keeping Wilson's condition secret. So we've seen it before, but Trump just completely changed everything. Biden had 9 cabinet meetings in 4 years. Trump has had 9 already this year, every one of them on live television. The most transparent president in history, and man, has he gotten a lot accomplished in just 1 year.
It reminds me of the little song that I used to love as a kid. The cat came back the very next day. The cat came back. They thought he was a goner, but the cat came back. He just wouldn't stay away.
Well,
I mean, that's Trump right there. You know what I'm saying? They counted him out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but they couldn't get 9 out.
Standing 8 count.
It was only a standing 8 count, brother. It wasn't a knockout.
And what he's accomplished right away, we saw, and the estimates range between 12 million and even 20 million illegal people coming into this country. And again, I'm not disparaging. I don't like the whole term illegal people. They're legitimate people, but they did not follow the protocol of how you enter the country. They just came streaming in because it wasn't an accident. It wasn't something where it wasn't an ineptitude in the Biden administration. It was all intentional because they wanted this influx of people from all over the world to come in here and destabilize this country, because the people pulling the strings in the other party right now are radical leftist. You're seeing all these socialist candidates running for office. It goes against everything this country is founded upon. And because this is not a country where Americans are going to surrender their rights and individual liberties. So they were basically importing a whole new group of inhabitants, not Americans, because most of these people came to get free stuff and get handouts, get housing and food and education for their children. And a lot of them have not worked since they've been here. They've just been on the taxpayer dime. And it had to get under control. Joe Biden, when they could keep him awake long enough, would say, well, I need Congress to act. I can't do anything about this. Donald Trump, in the first couple of weeks of his office, completely shut down the border. We have no illegal migration now whatsoever. Just that change would have taken a lot of presidents a couple of years to accomplish. He did it in less than 2 months.
Yeah, Trump has done some tremendous thing. He has been under scrutiny. He has caught tremendous flack from a lot of people, and a lot of people don't like Trump. But Trump is somebody that I see that is totally opposite of everything that Washington, D.C. has stood for so many years. He is not up there with self-interest. You know, it's amazing to me how many senators and congressmen go to Washington, D.C., and 2 years later, they're millionaires.
Yeah.
How the hell you become a millionaire? I know you make, $300,000 a year. You know, there's a lot of people that's got interest. I heard somebody say something the other day, Kip, I'd like to get your comment on it, that most of Washington is in somebody's pocket.
Absolutely.
Outside of this country.
It's the greatest gig in the world to be involved in government, federal government, because people are stuffing your pockets with checks, trying to get your support for any number of things. The corruption and the money is just completely out of control. It's not what the founders imagined. There was no such thing in the conception of what this country was going to be of professional politicians. That wasn't supposed to be a career. You were supposed to take, in a representative republic, which is what we're founded on, you hear Democrats going, this is the end of our democracy. We don't have a democracy. A democracy is a majority. This is not a majority thing. Or California and New York would determine who the leaders are for a whole country because they have more population. Um, this is a representative republic. It's a brilliant conception, but the problem is you've got all these professional politicians, and there's a reason, Legend, why they start running for reelection the first day on the job of just winning the previous election because it's the greatest gig in the world. You go up there, and these are the elected politicians. This is even speaking of the career bureaucrats that you can't fire and you can't get rid of. About 80% of them during the Biden years didn't even go to work after COVID. They just started working from home if they worked at all. They collected a check. I mean, the place needed to be cleaned up. It was an absolute mess. It still is. There's still unbelievable corruption. The brief involvement of Elon Musk and his Doge group found so many scams and schemes and money, and it's affecting everybody. If you get your paycheck and look at it, how much money is deducted, to think how much of that just goes in the pockets of people that are scamming the system. It's gotta be completely overhauled, and Trump's on his way to doing that. And some of the policies that have been put into place, and some of the different ideas to create revenue instead of spending ridiculous amounts of revenue, once again for that same purpose of feathering the nest to keep in power, because power and control turns into money. And it's very, very simple. It's been true of the earliest situations in civilization. Anything of value, that's always the way to solve any kind of mystery or anything you're wondering about. Just follow the money. If you follow the money, you find what the root cause of everything is. And these people are not only following the money, they're hoarding the money, because guys like Harry Reid, I just was in Nevada. Harry Reid was a businessman in Nevada. His business went bankrupt. 2 years later, he ran for United States Senate, bankrupt, really with no other options. He became a senator, was in Washington for 30-something years as a senator, which was never the intention. And when Harry Reid walked away from Washington at the end of his career, his net worth was $75 million. Now, how does that happen? And I'm standing there getting ready to get on a plane, and goes, Harry Reid Airport, and they got an airport named after him. He's a hero. Why doesn't it not bother Americans that these people go and serve in Congress and come out on the other side millionaires?
Yeah, it's just amazing. As an American, you want somebody who has your best interests at heart. Too long our politicians have had their own interests at heart. And I'm just alone. What makes me so much of a Trump fan is he is totally different. Now, I don't believe any of that Epstein bull crap. I don't believe that Trump ever did any of that crap. I don't believe that. I believe that he was probably an acquaintance with that man, but they've stretched
He banned him from Mar-a-Lago when he found out.
Yeah, but they've stretched that into some kind of big story, trying to tear the man down. That's just I don't believe
all the
any
files
of that
right
crap.
now. There's nothing.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that crap. And Epstein, he got what he deserved. I mean, anybody that will hurt a child deserves death, in my opinion. But here's the thing about Trump. I don't believe any of that. And I believe he stands for everything that is opposite of Washington. And I believe that's why the people voted him in again a second time. And I think we'll vote him in a third time if he comes up with some kind of rule or, leave it to Trump. He'll come up with a way to get in there a third time. I see it coming.
Well, I've said on shows before, but I don't think it can be repeated often enough. I had the great privilege of working for a man named Phil Ruffin, who owns so many properties and businesses. He's got a couple of hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. He owns different gaming establishments all around the Caribbean, all over the world, really. And he is closely acquainted with Donald Trump. He sold him the property where the Trump Hotel, that's where his Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas was. I met Donald Trump through Phil Ruffin years ago when he was in Las Vegas. But Phil Phil Ruffin called me about an unrelated matter after the 2016 election, just a couple days later. And I said, "Well, I guess your boy's on his way to Washington." And he said, "Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's going to be president." He says, about 6 months ago when he was running, I said, "Donald, what are you doing? You're already king of the world. You're making billions of dollars in your business, and now you want to be a politician and run for president? Are you insane?" And he said, "Phil," and this is coming from his best friend, so this is the ultimate source. Phil Ruffin married his wife, a much younger supermodel at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump was best man. That's how close they are. He said, "Phil, this country is hopelessly broken, and I'm the only person who can fix it." Now, some people would think that's arrogance. Some people would think that's braggadociousness, but that's what he truly believed. And anybody who questions the motives, he told his best friend, and you don't lie to your best friend because your best friend can identify that you're not telling him the truth. "Phil, it's broken, and I'm the only guy who can fix it." That's why he ran for president.
We were an absolute joke on the world stage.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody respected us. No country outside of this country respected us. When we came aboard with Donald Trump, it was like Alabama getting Nick Saban. Suddenly, respect was restored.
Yeah, we'll continue this in just a minute. We'll have a short segment at the bottom of this half hour, talking 2025 and all of the things we've seen and the huge steps we've taken forward. Get involved. We'd love to hear from you. 205-545-9950. We'll be right back. We are back. It is Kip Keefer, legend from the Paul Feinbaum Show. We're filling in for Val and Richard on this Monday morning. I've got to double check before I say that every
It's
time.
Monday.
It is Monday. It's the start of a new week. Middle of the week, of course, New Year's Eve on Wednesday night. Hope you got some great plans for that. You can watch some great college football. The Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes, like a throwback to when both those teams were really noteworthy. But that's going to be a great game. And then we've got, of course, Alabama on New Year's Day on Thursday at the Rose Bowl playing against the number one team in all the land, the Indiana Hoosiers.
It's just Twilight Zone, man. Twilight Zone. Indiana. I keep expecting Bobby Knight to throw a chair or something.
I know it.
You know, it's weird.
I know it. We were talking about, we only have a short couple of minutes here before the bottom of the hour, but we were talking about some of the accomplishments of Donald Trump in 2025. Legend, we'll talk a little bit more specific, but I want to kind of tease the next segment by saying that one of the things that I really am hopeful for is that at some point we can get back to regular journalism and professional people in the broadcast industry, particularly on the national level, the network TVs, the big network radio programs. We've reached a time in our country where freedom of the press, which is another one of our fantastic rights by our forefathers, has been really hijacked by ideological and politically motivated individuals. Most of them Ivy League educated, most of them kind of elitist in their attitudes, in their upbringings, thinking they're better than everybody else. They want to tell you, legend, what to think, how to think. They don't want you to think for yourself. They want to paint all of us out here, and their arrogance is illustrated by the fact that they consider anything that's not strictly East Coast, like New York City, Boston, all the way out to L.A., everything in between the 25 or 30 states that you have to travel over top of to go from New York to L.A., they call that the flyover because they don't consider us legitimate. We're not as good as them. We're not as smart as them. We don't have the silver spoon jammed all the way up our the area our proctologist was talking about earlier, and it has really taken a turn of alarming proportions. That our news now is tainted to be not informational, but really kind of trying to manipulate the way you think about things and try to tell you what to think instead of encouraging you to think for yourself. I want to develop that theme and give you some examples of that when we come back here on Talk 99.5. Again, we are very pleased to have Legend with us, a great American who's giving the American perspective on the show today. And when we come back, we're going to get more into it in the next half hour. So don't go anywhere, everybody. We got an hour and a half to go, and we're going to have some great stuff coming for you. And with you again tomorrow and Wednesday right here on Talk 99.5. Birmingham's versions of the Sultans of Swing. Kip Keefer, legend, Steve West, with you on this early Monday morning, 8:34 in Birmingham, having a big time filling in for Richard and Valerie as we continue on. And I talked about the news media legend right before the break here, and the fact that they want to indoctrinate you. They want to brainwash you. They don't want to inform you. They want to just completely give you privileged information, sharing their knowledge of things. But if anybody takes any of these people seriously, the next big move that Trump made in April of 2025 was to declare Liberation Day for the United States. And Liberation Day meant that he was going to stop what was just ridiculously festering for 3 decades, 30 or 40 years, where we had allowed ourselves to be the laughing stock of the world, getting completely economically screwed in all these deals. Do you know that Donald Trump inherited a system where importing goods to the United States led us to achieve about a $50 billion windfall in terms of charging other countries to ship their goods and services into the United States to sell? At the same time, if we shipped things to them, it was costing the American taxpayer $390 billion. So $390 going out, $50 billion coming in. That is a deficit that is just insane. We were just getting screwed in all of these trade deals, and we're so arrogant as a country, and this is Republican, Democrat administrations. We had this attitude, well, that's fine. We don't need the money. Meanwhile, we've got a $27 trillion deficit that we're putting on our children because we had such arrogance. Trump said, nope, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm renegotiating all these deals. We're going to have tariffs on all these products that are coming in here. If people want to sell their products in America, it's going to cost them to send those products in here. And the left and the media, this is the end of the world. He's going to completely bankrupt our country because all the prices, the inflation's going to go through the roof. Countries are going to stop doing business with us. They're not going to send products that Americans want. Everything in the country is going to cost more. These were the doom and gloom forecasts. This was the end of the economic world for the United States of America. They said it's going to be not only recession, it's going to lead to probably the next Great Depression, which we haven't had one of those since 1929. And guess what? Here we are 3 days from a brand new year, and America has taken in trillions of dollars and now is in such better financial position because this, not only the tariffs being imposed, has taken away the incentive for companies to make their products overseas because it's so much cheaper. Now it's going to be more economical for them to bring that manufacturing back to the United States, build a bunch of plants, reopen a lot of places that have closed in small towns all over the country, create jobs, create revenue. This is the most brilliant move economically that could have been made. And if you ever give any credibility to any of these experts or any of these economists or any of these people who are politically motivated that hate Donald Trump and don't want him to succeed, all of them told you were going to be an economic ruin and everything was going to cost just ridiculous amounts of money. They were dead wrong. They knew they were wrong. It was all politically motivated.
Yesterday I went and got a dozen eggs, $2.18.
Yep.
I was told that eggs would be costing me $25 right now.
I know.
I went and got some gas this morning. Guess what? Under $2.50. So here we are. I've been told these great lies that the economy was going to go down the drain because Donald Trump didn't know what he was doing. But hell, I just had 3 eggs over easy this morning before I came in and seen you. And it only cost me, I think, 50 cents. I mean, who can't beat that? I mean, it's just total exaggeration. And you mentioned the media, and the media has become such a joke to a large extent not everyone, because they are pushing opinion instead of fact. I don't want to hear your opinion. I want to hear the facts on the matter. And all the media has become so opinionated that you don't know if you're listening to the truth or this person's version of the truth. And that's really sad. It's really sad what it's become.
I mean, journalistic ethics used to be give a balanced report, give both sides of a story. You don't have that hardly anywhere anymore. I also want to talk about another Trump accomplishment early in his presidency. He made a triumphant trip to the Middle East. He went to Saudi Arabia. He went to Qatar, and then he went to the United Arab Emirates, a 3-stop tour. In 3 stops, he raised in investments from those companies in the Middle East who were completely alienated by the third Obama administration. Trump came back with trillions of dollars in investments in his pocket for them to build plants and manufacturing of everything from cars to airplanes. Got orders for American manufacturing and goods and services in the trillions of dollars. And here's the other thing. People lined the streets to cheer Donald Trump in the Muslim world in the Middle East. He went to the United Arab Emirates. They didn't roll out the red carpet for him. They rolled out, and this is a very symbolic thing, and Terry Quillian, the First Lady of the SEC football and the First Lady with government experience and political experience from her family, which is basically Georgia political royalty. Terry pointed out to me when he arrived at United Arab Emirates, we were watching the coverage, and she said, look, they've rolled out a purple carpet. Do you know what a purple carpet denotes? Royalty. They considered Donald Trump, the president of the United States, royalty. To your point you made earlier, we were a laughing stock from 2020 to 2024. Donald Trump in 1 year has completely reestablished this country as the dominant force for good and economic achievement in the country. And the way to get peace in the Middle East, a region that has been at war with each other and the rest of the world for centuries, the way to get through that, Donald Trump cut right to the chase. Prosperity is the key to peace. Get everybody going, get everybody making money. It's all a simple formula. And all these people that said the tariffs were going to be a disaster, Trump knew something that if they knew it, they didn't say it, that all these countries were going to end up doing whatever Trump wanted them to do because, legend, the United States citizens, Americans like you and I, are the biggest consumers in the world. These countries had to have American business and American customers to make their not only their businesses but their countries survive. Trump knew that. He was going to be able to make whatever deal was good for America because these people can't live without America because America is their greatest customer and their greatest source of revenue.
We have been really financing much of the world through the things that we buy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, everything I buy, it says made in China.
Yeah.
You know, so everything we buy is, for a large extent, is financing the economy of the rest of the world to a large degree. And I think Trump really came in and nailed something to me, how unfair some of the trade packages that other presidents had agreed to. It was just ridiculous how we were really the little kid on the block being taken advantage of when we shouldn't have been the little kid on the block. We should have been running the block.
Well, again, it goes back to our arrogance, and I think you were standing there with me when I was talking to my tax attorney, and we were talking about this subject, and I said, there's a scene, and I pick up little things in shows and stories and books and movies. There was a James Bond movie called Casino Royale where there's a big showdown with the bad guy in the movie that's a big poker player. Bond gets kind of double-crossed and loses a big jackpot, and now he's desperate because that was going to be the way if he could bankrupt this guy. I don't need to get in the whole plot line, but there was one scene that was really amazing to me. Bond was desperately trying to get back in the game. He had to come up with money to get back, to buy back in. and a CIA representative from our country approached him and said, "Hey, we're going to put the money up to get you back in because I think you can beat him. Because if they could beat him and bankrupt him, then he was going to be able to sing like a canary to protect himself." Anyway, Bond goes, "Well, okay, that's great. So you guys are going to put me back in." He says, "What if I win? Where does the money go?" And he says, "Do we look like we need the money?" Which was a great line for American arrogance. It's like, we got so much money, we're so powerful, we don't care. But that arrogance is what cost us. And Donald Trump is a businessman. And thank God, because I remember getting criticized when I was a Trump supporter. I thought a businessman in Washington, in the White House, was the key to our future, because we've seen what political animals, professional politicians have done to this country. And let's face it, Legend, what is a politician? What are their skill set? What are they good at? They're not, government's not good at anything. They're good at generating lots of money through taxation and wasting that money and doling it out to their friends and associates, which comes back into their pockets so they can get reelected.
You know, if this country had one mind in office and one goal, just think of the tremendous things we could accomplish as a people. The division in Washington has trickled down all over the country. You know, those folks in Washington, if they ever get on one accord, we could change not only this country, but the world.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll take our break. When we come back, more on 2025 Trump accomplishments and different things that our country has done to advance itself and position for 2026 to be one of the great years in American history. Our 250th birthday coming up, everybody, in just a couple days. Stay right where you are. The great band Kansas from back in the day, late
Great
70s,
band.
early 80s. I was growing up in Atlanta. Kansas were guys actually from Kansas, but had moved operations to Atlanta. Got to see them in concert a lot in their glory years back when I was a big concert goer. So Steve's reviving a lot of memories for me. And really this time of year, Legend, as you look back on things, this is the time for memories and nostalgia, and I this is what I enjoy most about kind of the New Year's period.
Yeah, speaking of Kansas, I was engaged to a girl for 18 months in Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh,
Kansas.
Kansas.
And man, I tell you, was never so glad to get out of a state when that relationship came to an end. No hills in Kansas. The flattest
No.
thing I ever seen in my life.
We left Birmingham in 1998. Got a job with Phil Ruffin, who I mentioned before, Donald Trump's close associate. He had gone out to the Wichita racetrack, and the customer service was so bad, and the place was so poorly run that he said, "To hell with this." He called his accountant on Monday morning and said, "I want to buy the racetrack." And he did, and he asked around, who can I get to manage this place? And I was recommended. I was still kind of a young guy, but found myself in Wichita, Kansas. Quite an experience. And Case, my son, who's now the executive sports editor of the Las Vegas Sun, actually went to the University of Kansas. Great journalism school there. Got a lot of great memories and a lot of great friends out on the plains. But a different kind of environment than the South. Let's put it that way. And you had the same experience.
Yeah, it's a different universe out there in Kansas, to say the least.
Yeah, a lot of children of the corn grown up.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of a strange environment. 205-545-9950 if you want to get in touch with us this morning. Kip and the Legend having a great time. We're winding down hour number 3 already.
Wow, can you believe it?
4 hours seem like a lot. Guys are running 26 miles in like 2 hours and 45 minutes, but we're already past that. Have another hour to go. We're talking about 2025 and some of the highlights. And I think this is an important discussion we just had, how journalism has just taken such a sad turn. Even guys that were politically motivated back in the day, and there are a lot of great luminary figures in American journalistic history, but in the 60s, the classic news anchors, the Walter Cronkites, Huntley and Brinkley, Chad Huntley and David Brinkley on NBC. ABC had great guys like Peter Jennings and legendary personalities. All these guys leaned left because they were all educated in kind of that elitist circle. But journalism had strong ethics then, that you had to present both sides of an argument and had to look at things not from an ideological perspective. And where did we lose that?
Today they don't even look at the facts of a situation.
No.
It used to, you had investigative reporters that actually went out and verified the facts. And now you just have people just telling you their opinion. And everybody knows opinions are just like the rear end. Everybody's got one, So, the news media has gotten so that you don't even know what you're listening to, if it's true or not anymore.
My favorite thing, watching big Trump events where he's at a rally or something, you hear him all the time go, "Oh, look at that. I started talking about the crooked media. Look, all the red lights on the cameras went out. They don't want to hear me talk about that. All the fake news up there." He calls them out. It's great now in this second term where he's so transparent and takes questions from everybody. A reporter will stand up and ask you a question. He goes, "Who are you with?" And she says, "ABC." Is, "Oh, you're the worst. ABC is a disgrace." A president wouldn't dare say that back in the day, but he's called them out and made Americans aware that this is not natural. I regret, back to my sons, who don't appreciate history, which I can't believe they can be Kip Keefer's sons and not be history guys, but they're outstanding in their own ways and got their own ideas. And I don't preach anybody has to be like me, God forbid. But they've grown up in this era where this is the norm. These people telling you what to think, not encouraging you to think for yourself, is really a dangerous thing in this country, and it really needs to be reformed.
I remember the old preacher, E.V. Hill, said, I have to be careful what I say from the pulpit because they will believe me. When you get up and speak on television or radio, you have a tremendous responsibility because many people listening to you will take what you say for gospel. And when I listen to the news today, and I can just imagine the division and anger that's created by some of the things that are said, and those things turn out to be just totally untrue. We talked about the economy, how they predicted the economy was going to crash.
Yep.
Eggs were going to be $12 a carton. You can't be able to afford it. You ain't going to be able to ride your car. It's going to be $10 a gallon by this time. Totally exaggerated the facts and bloated out of proportion. And that's what a media has become to a large extent, imaginary rhetoric. That's what it's become.
It is. And it's discouraging because they keep selling the fact affordability has become the big buzzword in Washington now. The Democrats have nothing to run on. They don't have any policies. It's just anti-Trump. If Trump's for it, we're against it. And now they've got the media operatives out there convincing Americans that Trump's done nothing about the economy, doesn't care about them. Trump's done a ton for the economy. You mentioned gas prices. And I warned people about this when Trump came into office earlier in the year on my podcast, Need to Know, on Tony Curry Radio and all the Apple platforms. If you are interested in hearing my rantings weekly, Need to Know is the place to go. But anyway, I talked about the Biden administration allowing inflation to run away, and that was the administration that could care less about American consumers because they were passing these huge pork spending bills, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the worst named bill of all time because it just completely increased the inflation. Trillions of dollars that were paid out to all these corporate entities and big donors to their campaigns to keep in power. It's just recycling taxpayer money to keep them in office. And it's such a false narrative now that Trump hasn't done anything for the economy. Energy prices, which is at if energy prices are high, it's not just the amount of money that it takes to ship products to the market. It's the amount of money, the amount of energy being expensive for people to produce products as manufacturers, and they pass those costs on to consumers. But the problem is, Legend, it's really difficult once a price threshold is established for a particular item. It's hard to see that come down because idiots like me who are so brand loyal, I buy V8, I buy Powerade, I buy Diet Mountain Dew, I buy pretzels. I mean, I have my standard items. And if they charge 3 times more for those items, I'm buying them anyway because that's what I like and that's how I roll. And once they get you on that threshold, what incentive do corporations have to reduce prices? They don't. They're going to keep that as long as people are still buying them. So all of this, it costs too much to live in this country, and Trump's not doing enough for the economy. It's nonsense because he's bringing back all these manufacturing jobs. People's wages have increased dramatically in this 1 year of his presidency. And the next 3 years, we might go to really high extremes of great prosperity in this country. And that's what the formula is because everything is lining up, suggests that.
Yes, America, ladies and gentlemen. There's no place like it.
That's for sure. And the best is yet to come. We've got 1 hour to go. Hard to believe we're the finish line is
in fourth quarter.
That's right. The fourth quarter finished strong. Bring it. We will be right back after this top of the hour break on Talk 99.5.